All right, here we go again. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 4 college admission essays that every teen needs. I'm your host, Dr. Cynthia Colon, founder of Dream College Academy and College Essay Bootcamp. If you are a parent or a champion of a college-bound teen, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. So buckle up. We are going to give it to you straight today. Here we go. All right, so there are 4 types of parents. So you're going to type into the chat which one you are. So just think about this. Are you parent type number 1? The holy smokes, I applied to college over 25 years ago, and I'm looking for all the help I can get. Right? That's me and my favorite teacher back in the day. Are you parent number 2, which is the we got this, and now what? You have a teenager who's done everything right, all the AQs and the PQs, the academics and all the personal qualities, and now they're dreaming of a top tier college that admits under 35%, under 50%, under 35%, or dare say under 20%, and you need some help. You might be parent number 3, which is, oh my goodness, please help me. I wish my teenager was a little bit more productive or motivated, and I just need to take that off my plate and give the nagging and the worrying to somebody else. So if that's you, you're parent number 3. Or you're parent number 4, this is your first rodeo. You've never done this before, so either this is your firstborn child, or you yourself did not attend college, and so this is the first rodeo for you, okay? So go ahead, type into the chat which one you are, and Vanessa's gonna share with us what we're seeing there. Say that again.
We're seeing a lot of 2s, but also I see a 1 here.
Okay, oh good.
We're seeing some 3s, a mix.
All right, good. It's perfectly, we typically get the number 2s because that's why you found us. It's not about, will my kid get into college? It's really about, my kid has big dreams. So good, I'm glad we're seeing a mix. Fantastic, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Hopefully we have some teenagers here on the call as well. Okay, so we're gonna just jump in. There are 3 decisions in the college admission process: where you apply, where you get in, and where you attend. I'm happy to report to you that you are in charge, have complete control over 2/3 of those decisions, where you apply and where you attend, right? That's completely in your control. And today we're going to show you how you can have a little bit more control over where you get in. In other words, the essays are really helping to maximize your choices. And that's how you have a little bit more control if you do take the time to give it the time and effort they deserve. Okay, so in the chat box, Vanessa is going to give you my bio, the link to my bio, and hold tight. Later on, we'll give you some sample essays. I'm not going to spend time going over my background, but if it's important to you where I went to college and where I've worked, then you can have the bio right there, okay? All right, today's lesson plan, we're going to go over the state of admissions, the 5 reasons the essays are so important, the 4 essays that you need, and sample essay prompts, okay? So, and then we'll give you the next steps, what you would do. So very briefly, you should know that there are more students applying to college, meaning there's a higher percentage of students applying to college than there were many, many years ago. Like if you're like me, applied like 25 plus years ago, there are just more students. And there's basically the same number of slots. So the freshman class, the size of the freshman class of many of our institutions hasn't changed a whole lot in 25 years. So I'm gonna give you 3 quick examples. Here's the University of Michigan and what their total pool and acceptance rate was in 98 and in 2018. Then we're going to take a look here at another public institution, one here at UCLA here in California, and you can see the difference there. And the paint hasn't all dried yet with the UC system and the numbers, but we're expecting it to fall around 10% when all is said and done. And then there's Yale. If any of you have H, Y, P, or S on the brain, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, you can take a look here, or any of the Ivies. This is pretty much what we're looking at now. So there are nearly 300 colleges that are admitting under 50%. But again, that's not why you found us. Most of you have these next two pieces on the brain. Schools that are in the top tier, excuse me, admitting under 10%. So we've got the Ivy League schools plus Stanford, Duke, and Georgetown, and there's a few more that are going to join these ranks this year. And if you can see here, if you're in California or you're planning to apply to the UC system, 5 of the 9 UC campuses had over 100,000 applicants just for freshmen alone. You can take a look here. The average acceptance rate is over 60%. So the question is not whether your teen will get into college, it's really about where and how are you going to maximize your choices and set yourself up for success. Okay, so we're going to quickly go through the 5 reasons that essays are so important. Number 1, admission officers have just 6 to 12 minutes to read the entire application of your teen. So I talk often about the red, yellow, and green system that we had at Vassar College. As an admission officer, I presented the file to the committee just for about 60 seconds. They asked me questions back, and my presentation was based on my notes when I originally read the application. So anything in that application that popped off the page went in my notes, went into the presentation, and at the end of that, we each had a red, a yellow, or a green index card that we raised to have a vote for that student. Reason number 2 is if you want the admission officer who will be advocating for your teen to have a reason to advocate, then the essays are all about being interesting, engaging, and compelling. Because again, those notes I took in those first 6 to 12 minutes stuck with me for many weeks later when I presented at the table to the committee. So it's really all about maximizing your choices and getting as many admission folks to advocate for you at the table. Number 3, you cannot rely on grades and test scores alone to get you admitted. So what I mean by that is the academic qualities, GPA, test scores, if you turn them in, and the rigor of your curriculum, those are what we call your AQs. Everyone in that pool applying to the same list of colleges that you are will have similar AQs. So that's not what's going to be different or set you apart. It's really the PQs, the personal qualities, that will set you apart, which come out in your essays. And then I have a note to myself just to remind everyone that your teen will graduate with 8 semesters of grades, but will apply to college with 6 semesters of GPA. So don't mix the two. Your GPA that you're accumulating to apply to college is from freshman year to junior year only. Point number 4 is you've got to get to the point. Every word in each of the essays that are required or optional is high real estate. You're going to have anywhere from 600 words to 1,600 words total for an application. So you've got to get to the point quickly. One more thing about the UC application, you get 4 essays that you turn in only, and each one is 350 words. So if you looked at a sheet of paper and you counted the word count, 350 is not very much. And point number 5 is you have to forget what you know in this process. Our teenagers have been learning how to write an English paper and or a research paper in this very specific way for many years. And the college admission essay is not that. It is a window of time. It is a window into your life. It is a slice of your life. And honestly, the essay should be something I cannot find anywhere else in the application. Okay, so we're gonna get started with the 4 types of winning essays. These are the exact 4 that we teach in Essay Camp. So you may want to take a screenshot of this or just take notes But this is what we call our core four. The who am I essay, what am I good at, something super cool about me, and the future connection. And I'm going to give you a few examples of each of these, so not to worry. Okay. And Vince might be commenting in the chat box as well. This is the who am I essay. This is really meant to give complete context of who you are. As I'm reading your application, I want to understand where do you live? What does that look like? What's your background? What are the unique perspectives that you bring to the table? What are you going to bring to our campus that's different and unique about you? Okay. So let's meet Diego. Diego, to quickly look at his application, there are a few things that might be red flags, but understanding the context that he's first generation, he's from divorced parents, and when he stays with one of his parents, there's one room that he, his sister, and his mother share. So understanding the context of Diego helps me understand the rest of his application. I want you to meet Ryan, and I'll show you a piece of Ryan's essay, which is probably more helpful. So here we go. Here's Ryan, and here's a peek into his essay. You won't have time to read the whole thing, but you can kind of take a glimpse. This is really about him being Vietnamese American, but he lives in a community that's mostly Latino. And it's about this essay goes on, it's about his friendship with Javier, who is El Salvadorian. What am I good at? What am I good at? Typically is the leadership essay. So leadership does come in title, a president, a captain, an editor, but it also doesn't always come in the title. So think about things that you're just really good at, passionate about, things that you love to do, and get lost in for hours. So let's take a look at a couple examples. Here's Savannah. Oh my goodness, we love Savannah. She wasn't involved specifically in a lot of things at school, but outside of school, she was in this Explorer program with law enforcement, and she had learned so many things, and she became really passionate about it. She wanted to major in criminology. It was so many things tied together. She writes great essays about this, a great essay about this program that she did. Here's Cosette. Cosette came to us as a community college student, so she was ready to submit her application again. And what is she good at? She discovered she's really good at animation. So here's a peek into her essay. It's about her creating these animated slides, 176 of them, to do a 12-second TikTok video with the genie from Aladdin. Something super cool. What's cool to you may not be cool to me, but that's what makes you super cool. So we have students write about just about anything that you can possibly think of, but it's something that's revealing about a student to the admission officer that sometimes comes as a surprise. So let's take a look. Here's Miles, and Miles lives in a college town and that college town is known for the number of trees and PhDs. So a lot of professors, a lot of folks who are elderly. He started a little free grocery business for COVID, and his essay is really about getting the website going so that people could submit their orders, and making the font bigger because his customers would say they couldn't see. And the little call that he makes from Trader Joe's saying, they don't have this, what do you want me to get? So something super cool. Again, he wants to major in computer science. So this is something unexpected that I find. Here's Ashley. Ashley is a 3-sport athlete, varsity athlete. She's committed to early literacy, lots of things that I might expect to find in her essay, but here's her personal statement. A lot of layers here. I learned that she is a daughter of a family that has a family business, a restaurant business. I learned that she is helpful in that family business. I learned that she's taking APs. There's a lot of layers here that I learned, but it's something cool and unexpected that I don't think I'll find based on her resume and transcript. The future connection is the final of the core four, but we call this the future connection or academic essay. It's how are you going to connect what you say you want to major in or what you want to do as a career to something that you've already done. Where's the evidence that you have done that and you are actually passionate about it? For the UC application, just my note to myself to remind you that with the UC application, you do not have an opportunity to submit teacher recommendations. Teacher recommendations, the sole purpose of them is to shed light on what kind of student you are. Are you a leader in discussion? Do you for school, for class? Are you a problem solver? All those things. And so you have to advocate for yourself in this particular essay. Let's take a look. So Jaylyn, she's from Texas, but she did apply to the UC system as well. But she wants to become a veterinarian. And so her future connection, her tie was that she did this Girl Scout Gold Award. She put on an environmental science fair for over 200 visitors. And she authored a children's book about environmental science using animals as the characters in this book. So it's a great essay about her journey about authoring this book, but it also makes several layers of connections for Jaylyn. Here's Juliana. And Juliana is a competitive dancer. She does dance. She's on the cheer team at school. Lots of things she could have written about, but she wants to major in nutritional science. And here's her essay. I just love the simplicity of the topic of this, which is basically baking. It's the chemistry of baking. Okay, you have a freebie coming your way. Vanessa's gonna type into the chat the link that you can have and to get 10 sample essays for free. And they're different essays than the ones I've just shared. The ones you're just learning about today are hot off the press, literally. Vince will tell you, like, these are kids from last summer. And so they are nowhere to be found. And they're not for public use quite yet. We use them in camp this summer, but we do not give them out in public. So the 10 sample essays are ones that have stood the test of time and will give you some great insight to each of the 4 types of essays. All right, we're going to keep moving, and I'm going to give you a quick insight as to what doesn't work. So you may want to just screenshot this because we won't have time to go into it. But these are the 4 essays or the pitfalls that we share with our students in camp, and we go over the pitfalls and give examples as to how to not do this, but how to actually, you can write these essays. It's not that it's impossible. It's just really difficult to make these essays stand out. Athletics, community service, life challenges, and important people. They're pretty common topics. Again, they can be done well. It just takes a lot of time and effort and a lot of excavating of the real reason to shed light on this. Okay, we're going to continue with some more samples before we pause. So the prompts, often parents and students want to know, what are the prompts? How can we do essay camp before we know the prompts? The prompts are out there and available, so not to worry. We do talk about that in class. So here are some samples of where you might see or where you might use a Who Am I essay. Meet Emily. Emily is from Southern California, and she comes from a military background. Her father is a high-ranking military official, and her family has a long line of military from the Civil War, if I remember correctly. But Emily is going to be the first female in her family to pursue a military career. So that's what her Who Am I essay is about. Meet Asose. Asose is very talented and had many essays, but here is what she writes in her personal statement. Just give you a second. Okay, let's take a look at the what am I good at questions prompts that you might find out there for Common App, UC app, and the Coalition app. So lots of things that you can see here that you can use your what am I good at essay. So let's take a look. Meet Sophia. Sophia had a long, so she writes an athletic essay. I'm just going to say that right now. And it's really about being a competitive gymnast for many, many years, and then getting into high school, I think sophomore, maybe even junior year, pretty late, and making a switch, making a pivot to switch to diving because she wanted to change. She switches to diving and actually ends up becoming a recruited athlete for diving. So it's a specific essay that we worked on a lot to make sure it wasn't just your cliche athletic essay. Meet Charlie. Charlie is wanting to major in mechanical engineering. So here's his personal statement. Okay, moving on. Something super cool about me. So this is one of my favorite essay types to work on with students, honestly, because it moves them out of, it gets them to think outside the box. But there are lots of ways that you can use this essay and several prompts that would lead them to that. Meet Amar. Amar from South Pasadena High School. He's an athlete. Lots of pretty basic things that cliche things that he could have written about. He writes about this. He calls it his graffiti wall in his, I think it's in the living room, that's got pictures and memories and actual graffiti on it, and lots of layers on that wall that lead the reader, that he describes, that lead the reader to understand that sort of the diversity of his family and lots of things that he peels back. Meet Alexandra. Alexandra was one of our rock star kiddos, and she writes something unexpected in her essay. I'm sure when she told her mom that she was writing about llamas, her mom was like, what? But she uses it as a metaphor for herself as well. Okay, academic or future connection essay. You can see here, there are a number of essay prompts that go along with it. Again, drawing your attention, if you're from California, the UC application, we strongly recommend that you have this fourth component in one of your essays. Meet Grace. She's from Florida, and she wants to be a teacher, a special ed teacher working with special needs students. And so her future connection essay was about the years that she has already spent doing community service in that field, proving to her reader that, yep, she wants to do this. This is her career path. Yes, she's done it. Here's the evidence of it. It's really great. Meet Curtis. Curtis, there's so many essays I could share with you from him, but here's one. He wants to be, when I met Curtis, he said to me, I want to be the 5th African-American paleontologist in the world. So he already knew that there's only 4 African-American paleontologists, and his aspiration is to become number 5. Here's his supplemental essay. Okay, so I probably should have shared where all of those students end up choosing to go to school. I forgot to say they're all pretty impressive, but trust me, they're not superhuman. They're not curing cancer. They just decided to do essay camp and leverage all their strengths into really great essays. So I'm going to pause here and just ask those of you who are listening, are you ready to learn a little bit more about essay camp? And we do have a special guest with us here today. We heard from Curtis earlier this morning, and I'll share his video with you guys later. but we also have Vince here to talk to you. So type in the chat the number 1 if you are ready to learn just a little bit more about SA Camp. You ready?
Lots of ones.
Okay, fantastic. Great, you guys. Well, I'm super excited to share a bit more about SA Camp. We just finished our first SA Camp. We have 6 each summer, and so now we're down to just 5 left. And you're going to meet Vince here in a second. I'll let him speak. But the team, first of all, we work with students from across the country, and the team comes from a great background. So, Vince, go ahead and share a little bit about why you are part of this team, what you love about SA Camp, and what you bring to the table.
Hello, everybody. I'm Vince, and I've been working with Cynthia on this camp. This is the 3rd or 4th year. I can't even remember. But they all sort of like flow together. Like one summer becomes the last summer becomes the last summer. But I've known Cynthia for many years. I first met her when I was in a college counseling office, and she came in. She was representing Vassar, and it was great to have a connection. And we've stayed friends ever since then. So what I love about the camp is it gives students a focused opportunity to work on what is probably the hardest part of the process, is actually sharing with total strangers who you are and why you're a good match for their college or university. And you want people who on your team, on your side, helping you move through that process, who are familiar with what's happening around the admissions table. So when, Dr. C did a great job today of like sort of splitting up the different types of essays and how they reveal different aspects of yourself. But I love doing this because you really get a sense of the hope that's out there, because you're presenting your best selves. Typically, you're telling us what are your strengths. Maybe you're explaining where the blips were, and we help you process that. But they're very positive. So I love this process, and I love helping students do that. What I do is I want to make sure, just almost as important as what you say in your essays is how you communicate what you're going to bring to these different college communities. And this past week, I helped students really level up their activities. So I had a student who described himself as an artist. And they said, well, I organized the art club. And that the description, it was a good description, but it didn't tell me anything. How do you do that? How many people do you support? What do you do with novice people? Do you create art and then have exhibits and sell the work and donate the money to a specific cause? That's what this one student was doing. But from their initial response of their activity, you would not know any of that. So it's really about getting in there and trying to collect information that talks about your impact, your leadership, your length of involvement. And if that's a match, they can see how you might bring a richness and depth to their community, then they're more likely to say yes. So that's our job, is to really help you shine in the application process. But what Dr. C does is, because she concentrates it, you don't have to spend all summer doing all this. Although if you apply to too many schools, you will be doing this all summer. But anyway, that's what we do, is we help you work through the details and do the work and get some good feedback.
Vince brings up a good point that, and I'm going to give some details. Those of you who are wanting the details of like when and where the camps are, I'm going to do that next. But we presume that, in many ways, we assume that you have a college counselor at your school. How often or how much time you're able to spend with that college counselor, it depends on where you go to school. So because of that, to level the playing field, we give you some modules to give you give everyone level set, including modules to help you build a college list, find a major, all those basic things that you need. That's in the bronze package and for all the packages. And what Vince does, it comes in the silver and the gold packages to help you have that resume expert coach. So, you know, this is a part-time job between now and applying. So you just want to wrap your brain around that and know that if you haven't done this, if you've never done this before, which no teenager has, they need some coaching. Okay, let's give you some dirty details. The college essay bootcamp is perfect for the overachiever, the doer, the dreamer, or the procrastinator. Okay. Many of our students I would put into the category of the overachiever. A lot of those that you saw, but we work with a range of students. What I mean by that, I don't mean the straight A kid. I mean the kid who's always thinking they want perfection, they want to go after it. So an overachiever is going to overestimate their ability to do this on their own and underestimate the competition that comes with it. So you're going to spend way more hours than you would if you just did this 20 hours with us. The doer is, I would put myself in that category. I just want to get it done. Like, I don't want to think about it for another 6 months. I just want to do it and get it done already so I don't keep processing it. The dreamer, many of you, it sounds like, are dreamers, thinking of schools that admit under 35%, under 20%, and under 10%. If you are in that category, that means that you understand what it means to be one of 44,000 applicants with a 4% acceptance rate. Okay, so you really need, right, again, Curtis and Juliana and Osose and Emily, they are not curing cancer or superhuman. They are just regular kids who found a way to tell their story in a compelling, interesting, and engaging way. That's it. And then there's the procrastinator, and what teenager is not the procrastinator? I believe that if you give your teenager 5 months, 5 weeks, or 5 days to get this done, that's how long they will take. So if you're a parent and you don't want to be the nag or the worry wart and you want to give that job to us, we're happy to take it off your plate. Okay. So Dr. C, what's the investment? We do have, as I mentioned, 3 options. And we've got the bronze, the silver, and the gold package. I'm going to just say out loud that there is an investment that comes with this process if you're trying to do it right and you're trying to maximize your choices. So what I mean by that is many families have in the past and currently are spending money on test prep. Because of the test optional and the test blind pieces, many of them are diverting their investment into essay prep. Okay. Vanessa, you want to get that waiting room? So you've got here the, Vanessa's also going to pop into the chat the web address, the website, so that you can go to. When you go to the website, you're going to see this. This is the top of the page. And then in the right-hand corner, you're going to see register for bootcamp, or if it's on your phone, you'll see the blue button. You're going to tap the blue button. And then it'll scroll you to this. Okay, again, that blue button is at the top. And it says register for bootcamp. It'll take you to this page right here. It'll scroll you down. You've got the bronze, the silver, and the gold package. As I mentioned, all of the packages come with your basic tutorials, modules 1, 2, 3, and 4 to help you with your AQs, your academics, gives you a mock committee, helps you with your PQs, and it helps you with your major and your college list. Those are the 4. The silver package, the bonuses there, gives you financial aid and scholarship modules. It will help. We will help you with where Vince and I are going to do a resume section so that you can see how to do the Common App and the Common App and the UC app, how to maximize your space there. And that's also where you get time with Vince specifically to go over your resume section. And you get 30 minutes extra in the fall on the back end. Okay. The gold package is extra if you're wanting to have access to me for until May of 23. Wait, class of 22, May for 12 months. Okay. Here are some more details. These are the dates that all the camps are 5 days. All of the camps are virtual. And these 2 that are in gray are also live. So if you are in California near Bishop Amat Memorial High School in La Puente, California, that's where we'll be on June 21st. We will also be virtual as well. So we have a mix of students for that camp. There are only 5 spaces left in the June 21st camp, and we also had a group of families earlier this morning. For the July 12th camp, similarly, we will be virtual, but we will also be on location at Notre Dame High School in Sherman Oaks, California. So if you live near there and you want to join us live, you can do that. We will probably be having some news of where we're going to be August 2nd, but we haven't solidified that date yet, or the campus yet. Again, they're all virtual, but if you want to join us live, those are the 2 options right now. Each of the camps are 5 days, 20 hours, 4 essays, done. Okay, 9 to 1 Pacific time, just so you note that, 9 to 1 a.m. Pacific time. There is no homework given to the students unless they fall extremely behind, but there's no homework. All the writing is done within those hours, and the homework falls on the coaches for us to read and spend anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes per night per student, giving personalized feedback. Okay, don't worry, I've got you. You've got a coupon code coming your way because you're here live with us now and watching this. This is great. So here is your coupon code. Essay Camp 10. So just so you know that you've got plenty of time to use that coupon code. However, I'll just caution you again, those of you who are looking for June 21st or July 12th, we will close at 26 students. There are 5 spaces left in June 21st. And there was someone who just bought. Oh, no, it's less than 10 spaces left in the July 12th. I should have checked that. Sorry about that. Okay. Vanessa's going to type that into the chat. And we're going to take some pause to take some questions. It's all going to work out. I promise you guys. I promise. Okay. So a couple of things. One, when I send you the link to the replay, I will probably also send you the link to the replay that was this morning. That has the Curtis, who you saw. He's one of our students. He was live this morning answering some questions as well. So you may want to take a peek at what Curtis had to say. Okay. Vince, Vanessa, do we have any questions coming through?
Not that I can see yet.
Good. This is a good group. Okay.
Do students need anything before they start the camp? Do they need to maybe do anything or send you anything? Or
so when the purchase is made, you get the modules right away. So you get the video tutorials. So you'll see your modules 1 to 4 in your library, which we strongly recommend that you go through those modules. If you've already gone through those modules, there are some essay camp modules. So there's 2 things that come in the library: Dream College Academy and also College Essay Bootcamp. So in the Bootcamp module, you'll see instructions there that give students access to over 60 sample essays. I cannot emphasize this enough. The more you read, the more essays you read that have been successful, the more prepared you're going to be to get ready to jump in. So I used to be a dean of students at a private high school. And so I used to call these things mandatory fun. So you can say it's mandatory fun, but yeah, that's what we recommend doing.
there's a good question about the impact of college admission and how does the essay impact the decision when the students have opted out of testing, SAT or ACT?
Oh, Vince, I don't know if you want to take this, but we had 2 of the students that I showed today did not submit test scores. But Vince, go ahead. I'd love to hear what you have to say first, and then I'll chime in.
Yeah, it's interesting. So if you're not submitting, you're applying to the University of California or the California State University system for the next 4 years, they're test blind in the process, which means even if you submit your test scores, they don't look at them. Now, that doesn't mean that if you go to a school where you took an IB test or an AP test, they won't look at those. But your curriculum, what you're taking, the rigor of your courses, your essays, and your PQs, your personal qualities, they're all going to weigh much more heavily in the process because that's evidence of what you've done in high school. So they're going to, so all of those things are going to be more important in the process. So it's important that what you say is well said so that they can see your value in the process.
Absolutely. I'm going to just draw your attention to the two students, and then Sam, I'll answer your question too. So this was Ashley got in nearly everywhere she applied, and look at how much money she earned in merit dollars. She did not submit test scores. She had, she's, I think, valedictorian or salutatorian of her class. Like, she had all the right AQs, her transcript and her grades shined. But really, for a student like that with no test scores to get into nearly everywhere she applied, that's a huge deal. And she applied to Notre Dame regular decision, which is also big. The other student that you met today that also did not submit application or test scores is Asose. Asose did not submit test scores. I mean, she had APs out the wazoo, and again, same thing. Her transcript, everything else spoke for itself. She did submit AP scores, I think, which were all 4s and 5s, mostly 5s. But if you remember this essay, I mean, really what she said. And then I'm gonna toot Vince's horn because he didn't say this earlier. One of the other pieces that wasn't coming across, Asose was in camp and had the access to Vince, and it wasn't coming across how she spent her time outside. So Vince, you want to just share the rest of that story?
Sure. And then you have a couple more questions.
Yeah, okay.
So one of the things that struck me when I was looking at Osase's stuff before we met was there was some inconsistency, and she had some good involvement, but it didn't seem consistent. So I asked her what she was doing when she got home from school regularly. And so then she communicated that she had, she was raised in a single parent family home. Her mom worked far away from where they lived. And so when she got home, she would do many of the chores of the house, and she would make dinner, and then she would take care of her younger brother. And I said, oh, that's a part-time job. Because it was basically 5 hours a day that she was working. She's supporting the house. So I think that in the context of her strengths in other areas, it really helped you to see her value, and that she was really committed to her family, and she was committed to their success, and that was important to communicate to colleges, made a big difference, I think, in the final admissions decisions.
Vince brings up a good point, and just in general, part of the essay campus, yes, we're all about the essays and that, and again, all the components of your application, we help as much as we can supplement you with information. But I just lost my thought about what you were saying. Oh, teenagers often don't realize all the things that they're doing and how they should communicate that. We teach them to be really humble about their accomplishments. So until people help to draw it out of them through the essay brainstorming activity that we do, or if they're meeting with Vince, we ask the right questions. We know what to ask to get students to share who they are. Okay, so just keep that in mind. This process is much bigger than just sitting in front of a computer and thinking, okay, now what do I write?
Uh, Cynthia, there's two questions. One is about the modules, and then one about merit dollars.
Okay, great. All right, so Sam asked modules. So the good news is once you're part of our family, you're part of our family. The bad news is once you're part of our family, you're not getting rid of us. You have access to this for a year. So even after camp, the reason we do that is because even after camp is done, whether you got to the modules or not, and obviously the silver and the gold packages, there's a number of things that will come into your library after as you're working through the rest of the application process. So the essays is just the essays are just the big heavy lift, but there are many components that come after that or before. So you do have access. Thanks for asking that. And then Vince or Vanessa, what's the merit question?
What are merit dollars? What does that mean?
Oh, okay, fabulous, good. So when it comes to paying for college, I'm sure you're all scared. You should be scared of that price tag. There's financial aid, which is need-based aid, what you qualify for. And then there are merit-based aid is based on, could be any kind of merit. It could be athletic merit. It could be based on a scholarship, based on a major. It could be based on your grades or test scores. So many colleges will have just a certain threshold based on a GPA or based on a test score that you'll automatically qualify for merit dollars. Then there are other colleges that will have some of that, but also have where you're put into a pool and you have to interview to get like a presidential scholarship or a half, tuition dean scholarship, things like that. So there's need-based aid, financial aid, and there's merit-based aid. Did I get that right, Vince? You want to add?
Yeah, merit-based aid. It doesn't matter whether or not you qualify based on financial need. Financial need is determined when you fill out the FAFSA. Your parents fill out the FAFSA, and most private schools also require the CSS profile, and that's something that we go over in one of the modules. Another good question was about involvement during the pandemic, and that it was hard to do things. This past week, I met with a student who was doing great work. Her AQs and her PQs were terrific, and she maintained, to the best of her ability, because she was a dancer, her level of involvement. But she wanted to study engineering. But when you looked at her PQs, she didn't look like an engineer at all. Like there was, with the exception of maybe the courses she was choosing to take. So there was AP Physics and AP Calculus. She didn't really have experience. So my job was, I found 3 virtual opportunities. She signed up to do 2. They were all inexpensive. And by the end of the summer, she's going to look more like an engineer. So I will say that colleges, they'll give you a little bit of a buy, but I have to say, with the students that I was working with, the level of involvement changed, but they still expected a level of involvement.
So there's a couple of things. So Valinda, you're bringing up a good point, and no worries. There are 2 things I would say to that. One is we help to bring out like what is she doing, what did she do, and or the example of the student from last year, asking the right questions. So I had a student during COVID that she's one of 8 kids, and so I said, you're definitely helping with the kids, like getting set up in the morning and getting them all set up for school. And, you need to write that onto your application as a kid from last summer. So we'll help with that. And or again, using Vince, you can either listen to, I have the podcast, Vince and I just did a podcast that was released just a few weeks ago. It's on the YouTube channel, and you can find it on Spotify. He talks about different things that you can do. So the thing I love about Vince is that first of all, if you're a rising junior and you take essay camp, you have the luxury of time, and you're going to get a lot of value out of it, and know that you've got another year to beef up your PQs and your resume and things like that. If you are a rising senior and you have access to Vince with the silver or the gold package, basically Vince is one that never thinks it's too late. If he sees a gap in your AQs or your PQs, if you see something, he's on it. He's gonna go find something for you to do tomorrow. So, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a question about what's the best thing a rising junior can be doing this summer?
Vince, you want to take that?
Yeah, I think for a rising junior, two things. One is you got to figure out your testing plan. I think that rising juniors, many of the schools that were test optional or test blind will shift that policy, and they may require test scores. So if you're applying to a school that's going to be is admitting less than probably 20% of its applicants, you'll probably see return. So you want to figure out your testing plan. You don't want to be doing your testing in your senior year if you can help it. So figure out your testing plan, and then really think to yourself, what is it that I want to, what am I interested in studying? And ask yourself, do I look like a person who wants to study that? And that's really true for those who are interested in STEM, especially. And there's so many opportunities for you to increase your value and help you understand if that's something you really want to do. I remember one summer I had some students doing an engineering camp. It was a week long. Both students by the end of it said, I don't want to do engineering. And that was a big value.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. So we've got another question here from Karen. Can students write about their activities pre-pandemic, for example? Okay, so a few things here. I'm going to answer this briefly, and then maybe Vince has other things. But so a couple things. When it comes to essays, first rule of thumb is that students should never be writing about something that happened before high school. It should be in the context of high school, should not be something that they did in 6th grade or whatever. I don't think that's what you're asking, but I'm just using this as an opportunity to share with everybody, understanding the context. So if pandemic was still in the context of high school, sure. And also you're gonna be able to use now. I mean, students have been back, so I don't wanna say normal, because we're not really back to normal, but sort of pseudo normal or new normal. So thinking about that and how you're going to shape an essay, what am I good at essay, in the context of what was it like before, we had drum majors. We had 2 female drum majors last year that they were seniors this last year. So what that looked like to be leading the band virtually, there's a lot of ways to sort of do an essay about pre-pandemic, during pandemic, and post-pandemic. That's one way to think about it. So lots of ways to do that, but the short answer is yes, you can. Vince, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, you really want to emphasize impact. And so anything that you've done in high school is going to be important in the college admissions process, whether it was pre-pandemic, during pandemic, or as we move forward out of pandemic. I think that it's also important to think about ways that you could sort of shift your level of involvement. So I had one student this past year. He really got into to exercise. He loved to run. We found a website where it listed all these races all over the world. So he set up a GoFundMe page, and people support his cause is to support children getting brain surgery at the Children's Hospital. So every race he ran in, people would donate. And so far through the pandemic, he's ran 30 races, 3.2 miles, and he's raised $8,000.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you. Okay, that brings us near to the top of the hour. So I'm going to just pause to see if there's maybe one quick last question. Otherwise, we'll let you guys go. Vanessa, if you don't mind typing in the website to sign up for Essay Camp and also the coupon code. I'm gonna stop recording. Okay. Great. Okay, I'll hang out here.